Let me ask you something. When you go for a run, what does your pace look like? Be honest. Are you pushing hard from the first step, breathing heavy within the first 2 minutes, feeling like you're really working, and then dying somewhere around the 8 or 10-minute mark, and either stopping or shuffling home, feeling defeated? Because if that sounds familiar, I need you to hear what I'm about to say very carefully. You are not running wrong because you're out of shape. You are running wrong because nobody ever told you the single most important thing about how your aerobic system actually develops. And once I figured this out, everything changed. Not a little. Completely. We're now a few episodes into this series, and if you've been following along, you already know we've been through the ugly first days, the sore legs, the elevated heart rate, the almost quit moment on day 5. We've been building something real here, step by step, and this episode is where the training, philosophy behind everything shifts. This is the pivot point. The thing I wish someone had told me before I spent weeks running the wrong way and wondering why I wasn't getting better. So, if you care about actually improving, not just surviving your runs, but genuinely getting faster, going further, and feeling better while doing it, this video is the one. Subscribe if you haven't already, because we're deep in the journey now, and you do not want to drop in halfway. And tell me in the comments, when you run, do you push hard from the start, or do you ease into it? I want to know where you're at before we dig in. Here's what was happening to me before I made the change. I was running every day, which, after the last episode, you know, was already a small miracle. But every single run felt like a battle. Not a productive, building something kind of battle. More like a desperate survival situation. I'd start, push hard, because I thought that's what running was supposed to feel like. Hit a wall somewhere around 8 to 12 minutes, and then either stop completely or slow to an embarrassing shuffle that barely qualified as movement. And every time I finished, or gave up, I felt the same thing. Deflated. Frustrated. Like I'd worked hard and gotten nowhere. And here's the part that really messed with me. My pace wasn't improving. After weeks of running, I was still hitting the same walls at the same distances. My lungs were still burning the same way. My legs were still giving out at the same point. I was putting in the time. I was showing up consistently. And nothing was changing in the way I expected it to. I started wondering if I was just one of those people who would never get better at running. Maybe my ceiling was just low. Maybe some people are built for this and some people aren't. Stop. That thinking is wrong. And I need you to understand why. Because chances are you're either there right now, or you're heading there fast. The reason I wasn't improving had nothing to do with my potential as a runner. It had everything to do with one massive fundamental mistake I was making on every single run. I was running too fast. Not fast by any objective measure. Trust me, nobody was watching me and thinking I was going too hard, but too fast relative to what my aerobic system could actually handle and develop from. There's a specific zone where your aerobic base gets built, where your body learns to use oxygen efficiently, where your cardiovascular system makes the adaptations that eventually make you faster and more capable over time. And I was running well above that zone on every run. I was in the zone where you just suffer and get tired, not the zone where you actually improve. Now here's the uncomfortable truth. Almost every beginner runner does exactly this. You go out, you run at what feels like a real running pace, you get destroyed, you recover, you go out and do it again, and you wonder why, after weeks of effort, you're not dramatically better. It's because effort alone doesn't produce the right adaptation if it's applied at the wrong intensity. You can work incredibly hard, and make almost no progress if you're working at the wrong level. That is one of the most frustrating things in fitness, and it's completely backwards from what our instincts tell us. We're wired to think harder equals better. In running, especially early on, that equation is completely wrong. Now let me expose the thinking that keeps people stuck in this pattern because I lived inside it for longer than I'd like to admit. If I run slow, I'm not really training. This is probably the most common one, and it's pure ego talking. The idea that slow running doesn't count, that it's only a real workout if you're pushing hard, if you're gassed, if you finish feeling wrecked. This idea is costing people months of progress. The research on this is not subtle. Somewhere between 70 and 80% of elite distance runners weekly. Training volume is done at easy, conversational pace. The people who run marathons in 2 hours and 10 minutes spend the majority of their training time running at a pace they could hold a full conversation at. If it's good enough for them, you explaining why slow running doesn't count for you is, to put it plainly, ridiculous. I look stupid running that slow. Okay, so you'd rather look like you're working hard while making zero progress than look a little slow while actually building the engine that eventually makes you fast? You'd rather perform effort for strangers on the street who aren't watching you and don't care than do the thing that actually works. Think about how absurd that is. You are sabotaging your actual development to manage the perception of people who aren't even paying attention to you. That is not a strategy. That is insecurity wearing the costume of effort. I tried running slow once, and it felt too easy, so I sped up. This one is subtle, and it catches a lot of people. Running at a truly easy aerobic pace feels almost uncomfortable in a different way. Not the burning lungs kind of uncomfortable, but the "this doesn't feel like enough" kind of uncomfortable. Your ego sends you a signal that says you're not working hard enough and you should push more. And most people listen to that signal, most people speed up, and in doing so, they leave the zone where the best aerobic adaptations happen and go back to the zone where they just suffer and plateau. The discomfort of running slow is mostly psychological. The discomfort of running fast and never improving is very, very real. I don't have time to run slow. I need results fast. Slow running is the fastest way to real results. I know that sounds like a slogan on a motivational poster, and I hate that it does, because it's genuinely true, and I want you to take it seriously. Building your aerobic base properly, which requires easy, low-intensity running, is what unlocks every other level of performance. It's the foundation. You can't build the house fast by skipping the foundation. You just get a house that collapses. Run easy now, so you can run hard later and actually sustain it. So here's what I actually did, and what I want you to consider doing if any of this is hitting close to home. I slowed way down. And I mean way down. To a pace that genuinely embarrassed me at first. I could talk in full sentences. I could look around at the environment. I wasn't gasping. My legs weren't burning. It felt, honestly, like I wasn't really doing anything, and every instinct I had was telling me to speed up. But I didn't. I committed to it for 2 weeks. Same routes, same schedule, dramatically slower pace. And here's what happened. The first week, nothing obvious changed externally, but something shifted internally. My runs stopped feeling like combat. I stopped dreading going out. The mental weight of, "I have to survive this," started to lift. And in its place came something I hadn't felt before, a kind of quiet confidence that I could actually keep going. Not because I was pushing through, but because I wasn't destroying myself. I was running at a level my body could handle and recover from. And because I could recover, I could show up the next day, and the day after, consistently, without the accumulated damage of running too hard every single time. By the second week, something physical started to shift too. My easy pace, the pace that felt comfortable and conversational, started to naturally creep up a little. Not because I was pushing harder, because my aerobic system was adapting. The engine was getting bigger. The same level of effort was producing slightly faster movement. And this happened without me trying to go faster. It happened as a direct result of consistently running at the right intensity. That's how aerobic development actually works. And it's one of the most satisfying things to experience firsthand, because it feels almost like cheating. You're running easier, and you're getting faster at the same time. Now here's the practical piece. How do you know if you're running at the right easy pace? The talk test is the simplest tool there is. You should be able to say a full sentence, not a word, not half a sentence while gasping. A full, actual sentence, without losing your breath. If you can't do that, you're going too fast. Slow down until you can. It might feel embarrassingly slow. Good. That's the feeling you're looking for. Because that feeling means you're in the zone where your body is learning to be efficient, rather than just surviving. The other thing I started doing was paying attention to how I felt 30 minutes after a run, not during it. Hard runs leave you depleted for hours. Easy runs leave you feeling like you actually did something good for your body. Maybe a little tired, but functional, clear-headed, ready to go again tomorrow. When I started noticing that post-run feeling consistently, getting better, I knew something real was happening. The body was adapting to the workload instead of just absorbing damage from it. And here's something nobody told me that I want to make sure I tell you. Building your aerobic base takes longer than you want it to. It doesn't take forever, but it takes longer than a week. Most coaches talk about a real aerobic foundation taking anywhere from 6 to 12 weeks to meaningfully develop, depending on where you're starting from. That timeline feels long when you're impatient for results. But here's the perspective shift that helped me. The 6 to 12 weeks are happening whether you run easy or run hard. The difference is that if you run easy, you come out the other side with a real engine. If you run hard the whole time, you come out the other side injured, burned out, or stuck at the same plateau you started at. The time passes either way. Choose what you build during it. One more thing. Running slow teaches you something about yourself that hard running never can. It teaches you to be present. When you're not gasping and suffering, you actually experience the run. You notice things. The light changing on the street. The way your arms feel when they're relaxed instead of fighting. The rhythm of your breathing when it's not panicked. Running stops being punishment and starts being something you actually look forward to. And that shift, from dreading your runs to genuinely looking forward to them, that is the thing that makes this sustainable long-term. Not willpower, not discipline in the grinding, grit-your-teeth sense. Just genuinely enjoying the thing you're doing because you're finally doing it in a way that feels good. Here's where I need to land this, because I want you to carry one thing out of this video. Most runners, especially beginners, are training at the wrong intensity almost all the time. They're going too hard to build their aerobic base effectively, and not hard enough in their actual, hard sessions to produce peak performance. They're stuck in a zone that's too uncomfortable to be sustainable and not intense enough to produce real speed gains. It's a no man's land. And the way out of it starts with the thing that feels counterintuitive. Slowing down. Way down. Building the foundation properly. Letting your body actually adapt before you demand more from it. You don't have to train like an elite athlete, but you can train the way elite athletes actually train, which is mostly easy, aerobic, Sustainable work, with occasional harder efforts layered on top. Not the other way around. The ego wants hard every day. The body needs easy most days. Listen to your body more than your ego. I promise you, it's smarter. If you've been grinding through every run feeling terrible and wondering why you're not improving, slow down on your next run. Not a little, a lot. Have a conversation with yourself out loud if you need to. If you can talk, you're in the right place. Stay there and give it at least 2 weeks before you judge it. The results will come. They just come on the body's timeline, not the ego's. Now, the next episode, because after I figured out easy running and started seeing real progress, I did what a lot of improving runners do. I got excited. I thought, if running 3 days a week is getting me results, what happens if I run 5? What happens if I run every single day? I decided to scale up. Add more days, more miles, more frequency. And it started great. And then it very much did not. What happened when I pushed the frequency up before my body was ready for it is a story that involves some genuinely stupid decisions on my part, a week I'd rather forget, and a lesson about overtraining that I learned the hard way so you don't have to. That's the next video. And trust me, if you're making progress and thinking about running more days per week, you need to see it before you make the same mistake I did. Subscribe so you're there when it drops. And leave a comment right now. Are you currently running too fast? Be honest. And has anyone ever told you to slow down before? And did you actually listen? Drop it below. I genuinely want to know. And I'll see you in the next one.